Hi brothers and sisters, another quick video for 8th day dawning, nothing too long or extensive. I was just looking at some chapters this morning and looking at what I could find, and this is what I found. In Ezekiel 8, if we read this, the first couple of verses here, as I sat in mine house and the elders of Judah sat before me, it was then that the hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearances of his loins, but this is the daughter of Israel. Daughter Zion, Lord, her number is 136. And even downward fire from her loins, even upward, yes, women have loins too, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And she put forth the form of a hand, and took me by the lock of my head. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the vision of God to Jerusalem, in the visions of God to Jerusalem. So I'm going to say that to be lifted up between earth and heaven is to be akin to the dream world, to be dreaming, or to be having a vision. So to the door of the inner gate that looked where? It says, toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh the Lord to jealousy. And behold, the glory of God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Look at that. We have a hint maybe to where we're looking. We're looking at the north. We're looking at a plain. And we're looking at an image. If we look the word image up here, it's going to tell you male, a male image. The Lord was very angry by this image, so much so that she had grabbed Ezekiel by the head, by a lock of his hair. I'm going to say that she had him in the dream plane, and she was showing him what was really making her so angry. And it was this image that she saw towards the north. Now, what was in the north? Daniel 3. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. So she's clearly being very angered by an idol that she sees standing in the plain here. And if you look plain up, it just means a valley, just like it does over here in Ezekiel 8. So it was this male image that she saw standing that was making her so angry, and it is directing us towards the north, to look towards the north. Because God says to the door of the inner gate that looked toward the north. And so she took Ezekiel and she made him look towards the north at this image, this idol that was making her so angry. Where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy? And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. So now we see Nebuchadnezzar making this idol, this image. And we're just going to read through this. Hezekiah 2:14 will read, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Now we saw in Ezekiel 19 them taking her into captivity, and we are told in that chapter that she had many waters for powerful rulers, powerful scepters that would rule, and she was referencing her daughter. But here in Hezekiah 2:14, after we read that verse, that the knowledge of the glory of the Lord will be as the waters that cover the sea, what does it say in verse 15? Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbor, to his sister, from the north, pouring it from the wineskin until they are drunk, in order to gaze at their nakedness, in order to make her his harlot. Yet as surely as I live, and as surely as the whole earth is filled with the glory of the Lord, it will be filled with the glory of the Lord. Numbers 14:21. And so we're just making these little quick connect to tell you what it is that she saw standing that made her so angry. And what does it say here? We'll read this rendering first, and then we'll read another one to draw our connection to possibly get a better understanding of exactly what she saw standing there. So we'll read the Berean Study Bible. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly in the far reaches of the north. So again, God, the glory, she was directing Ezekiel's eyes to the north. And what was in the north? The congregation of the north. It meant on the mountain of the north, which we identified as the house in the forest of Lebanon, which takes us to the Valley of Vision. That is what Isaiah 22 is called, the Valley of Vision, where the glory was being cast down. That's right. And we understood who largely really set this beast system up, and that was King Solomon. That's what we realized in many of our studies. But let's read another version here. It says, you said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly on the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. It says Zaphon. Now Zaphon is another word for the north. But if we look and punch in Mount Zaphon, you know what we get? It's going to give us Baal Zaphon. Baal Zaphon, I believe is how I come to this. And then you punch it into Wikipedia. And you get this really joke of a god. The image that they've got here is just, it struck me so funny. It looks like a drunk with a crown on, trying to play something of importance that really wasn't all that important. But Baal Zaphon, it was a Canaanite storm god, Baal, the Lord, in his role as Lord of Mount Zaphon. Now, if you punch this into Strong's Hebrew, it's going to say Baal of winter, I think is what it's going to give you, because Lord of the north. He was equated with the Greek god Zeus in his form, Zeus Cassius, and later with the Roman Jupiter Cassius. So here we also are bringing in Jupiter now. And how all the Christians the end days, they keep worshiping the hosts of heaven is what they keep doing. Instead of looking for the true glory, the true Lord, and not worshiping the hosts of heaven, which is, there it is. It's 1189, Baal Zaphon, Baal of winter. It says a place in Egypt. But this is where he was exalting himself to the utmost heights of Mount Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. And she was very angry, so much so that she was pointing it out to Ezekiel, and she was forcing him to look north. And she was saying, this is making me angry. They are tearing my glory down, which was the house in the forest of Lebanon. We know she flowed like a living water from the north, from Lebanon. And we, like I said, we have discussed this. She was called the Key of David. It links us to understand what the Key of Solomon truly was, which was harlots that they were taking unto them as wives that would bow down to that image of Baal themselves as Lord and God. And so we get this all validated when we get looking at the glory. And then we see the departure of the glory. We also see this in Psalm 74. Remember thy congregation which you have purchased of old, the rod of your inheritance which you have redeemed. This Mount Zion, it says, wherein thou hast dwelt. Now, it wasn't Mount Zion where she dwelt. It was Lebanon, the house in the forest of Lebanon. And that was in Bashan, Mount Bashan. Now, some says Bashan was just another term for 7 mountains. But it appears that the other mountains was jealous of this one mountain, of where the house in the forest of Lebanon dwelt. They hated her. They didn't want her as their government of God. So she was really mad that they were tearing her government down. And that means they were tearing her daughters down in their covenant. So, and here we see them coming against her. It says, it seems as if one had lifted up his axe in a forest of trees. Well, that links us to the house in the forest of Lebanon. And now all its carved work they smash with hatchet and hammers. You see them tearing the house in the forest of Lebanon down again and again and again is all your references here. And we know that she flowed like a living water from Lebanon. It's told us in Song of Songs, chapter 4, verses 12 to 15, if you want to go and look at that, which we've done over and over. And we're also told in Proverbs 5, your wife is your water. And he chose a harlot and basically tore her well of water down, which was akin to tearing the government of God down. And then you see the glory very upset with what is going on. And she's angered by this image that she sees standing. And then we see the Lord awaken as a warrior that's been drunk on strong drink or on drink, which then takes you back to Habakkuk 2:14. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbor, pouring it from the wineskin until they are drunk in order to gaze at their nakedness. And so then we see the Lord awaken. The Lord awakens as a warrior, drunk on wine. And she is angered by the image that she sees standing. These are all connected, every one of them. I believe that is Psalm 44. But we'll pull it up here. And it is Psalm 78. Then the Lord, as from sleep, as a warrior wakes from the stupor of wine. You see? And so we come back to the Lord's number here, 136. It's the same Lord raising Ezekiel's head, identified all through Ezekiel. It's usually the Lord's number 136. She's angered by what they were doing to her glory on earth, the scepter that she ruled through, which were righteous daughters. They were really working hard to cast her down at that point. So we see all of these connects. She is called the Lord. She was the one that they were intent on pulling her down. So Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 9. Okay, why did I have this one up? Okay, I was going to look at that. But in chapter, was it 11? No. Yeah, it was. It's Ezekiel 11. Then you see the glory of God leaving. She literally leaves the earth. I saw this I shouldn't say, but in a vision quite a few years ago. And in the vision, we were in darkness. It wasn't a dark, but it was darkness. And I was running and I was looking up at the sky and I saw this, I guess you'd call it a constellation formation. And I can't really go into much detail about the shape of it, but it did have a particular shape to it. And at the time, I remember when I woke up, I had this real deep fear within me, a deep, deep fear within me. And looking and watching it and I thought I was afraid of the constellation that was coming in. But now as I go through so many passages, I begin to speculate that the fear that possibly was in me in that dream was that I was witnessing the departure of the glory, is what I was actually witnessing in that dream, is what I have come to reason out by understanding different things that I saw in little snippets, in little dreams that I was allowed to see. And so I think, and I can't express just how much fear I felt in that And now I realize it's because I was witnessing the departure of the glory of God, is what I believe I was witnessing in that little snippet. So in Ezekiel 11 at verse 22, it's got a little caption over it here. It says, God's glory leaves Jerusalem. Then did the cherubims or cherubims lift up their wings, and the wheels beside them. That's planets, I believe. And the glory of the God of Israel was over them above. And the glory of the Lord went up from the midst of the city and stood upon the mountain which is on the east side of the city. Afterwards the Spirit took me up and brought me in a vision by the Spirit of the God into Chaldea, to them of the captivity. So the vision that I had seen went up from me. Okay. So I believe this is the place where it says, and the glory leaves. That's what it's saying. The glory leaves. And then Israel goes into full captivity. All right. Because they have actually cast the glory down. And by this time she's exited. She's left. But before she leaves, this is what she does. This is interesting. She leaves behind her a remnant. Okay, where did I find that? Ezekiel 8, I think. So, was it 8? I'll just read this and give some quick thoughts on it. No, it wasn't that chapter, I didn't think. I had it pulled up. I know I did. Of course. Now I'm going to have trouble finding it. So let me just... Okay. I've got no reference here. Okay, so let's see if I can find it. Alright, yeah, it is this chapter. It's Ezekiel 10, where we're going to find this reference. Before the Lord left, which we found her leaving, the glory leaving, in Ezekiel 11. In Ezekiel 10, she does this. Then I looked, and behold, this is verse 1 of chapter 10, Ezekiel. Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubims, there appeared over them, as it were, a sapphire stone, as the true appearance of the likeness of a throne. And she spake unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub or cherub, and fill thine hand with, what? Coals of fire. What are those? What are those? Those are embers. That's what they are, embers. And fill thine hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. So before the glory leaves, this gets done, right? And these embers get scattered throughout the city. So then it speaks of the cherubim standing, and what else? Let me see if there's anything else here. So this, of course, is where the angel is told to mark this group that won't bow the knee. And so what she does, in essence here, when she scatters these coals, these embers, and it is embers, when we go in and we look the word up. All right, we'll go look the word up here. This word for coal. All right. So Ezekiel 10:2, it's 15:13 is the Strong's Hebrew, and it's feminine. It's a feminine noun. Coal or hot embers. Look at that. Shining precious stones. What's that? Sounds a lot like a ruby, at the very least. A shiny precious stone. Spark. Coals of fire. This is where what it says. It says, figurative of hope in posterity. Well, what's your posterity? Well, that's your future generations. So she was actually showing us in symbology her remnant that she was leaving behind, and would awaken out of the dust of the earth as these coals of fire. They're holding fire on their tongue. That's the truth of heaven. It's going to feel like you're going to be burned by this truth, because you're simply not going to believe it's true. And it's baby going to burn you. But she was clearly angered by the idol that she saw standing. Now we know that that image does get smashed on the toes in Daniel 2. And I often say that that's the gold image. But the gold image, of course, that Nebuchadnezzar made, we just found it in Daniel 3. Daniel 2 is the same image. We just see each consecutive kingdom over time building on this idea that man is God. And this is what was making the glory so angry. That they were casting her government off and her daughters off. And she departs. She leaves. She says, you want a man for your ruler? Fine. You'll have what you want. But here we see her leaving a clear remnant behind, is the idea when you get your allegorical understanding. So I just, you know what, I just found that so cool. I had to share it. And wow, it's still 21 minutes. So there you go, something else to further the understanding. I just find it fascinating that she takes Ezekiel, and she lifts his head and she points him to the north. And she says, look at that image that they've made. And they've torn down my house, you know. The valley of vision. This all links back to that word plain, a valley. We saw King Solomon digging a ditch. It links us back to the word valley, right? He was literally draining the waters of the righteous daughters, the key of David, when he was taking unto himself these harlot daughters from the surrounding Adamic nation that knew the lie. To contaminate the woman's seed, put this drink to her lips, make her drunk on this wine, this admixture of doctrine. And yet we see the glory, our original head, the Lord, 136, daughter Israel herself, ensuring that in the future she ensured for herself a future remnant that would awaken out of the dust of the earth with her covenant upon their tongue. And I just find that's so fascinating. So I thought I'd share it. I thank you for watching. I pray you're blessed with an abundance of this water, this truth. And I hope y'all have a really nice day. And thanks for watching.